Hi everyone, I'm Judge Desire for Knowledge. Thank you for joining me here on YouTube. I'm not live today, wish I was, but I have an event later on and I wanted to get this message out to you. Happy weekend coming forward. Please like, share, and subscribe. These messages are important for those who do not know and for those who care to know. Hi, IAAH Radio. Come check me out on that channel with the best DJs and the best music in town. IAAH Radio for talk radio at 3 o'clock every Saturday, along with my YouTube channel at 3 o'clock every Saturday. Know Your Truth Real Talk. All right, so we're going to talk on this episode of Know Your Truth Real Talk. It's a very sensitive topic we have, which I like to do once in a while. Sometimes all my topics are sensitive based on what you think. This one's about race. I did one before, but this one is about how we can use diversity to make a change. In other words, the title is The Diverse Truth, Embracing Other Races and Cultures, which is important to me because I wasn't brought up to just stick with one particular group, my race and other races. I always like to meet internationally with other people. I'm a people person, so therefore I'm not just going to stick with one race just because we have a lot of people that aren't into going out and seeing other races as we are. People think that we're not the same where we are. We bleed the same. We may not be the same color, but we're the same spirit. Spirit doesn't have color. And the races are just one way for us to see that we need to do what we need to do to get along together with one another peacefully and, you know, have solidarity and unity together. But obviously we're not taught that. So most of us weren't brought up that way sociably. So I wanted to start my show here, Know Your Truth Real Talk, this week on that very sensitive topic. The way that I believe we could learn what we weren't taught in our cultures is by watching other cultures that we can't learn from the same cultures, because I feel like when we do, we are seeing the same thing round and round. Most of the cultures that are in the same races, the ones that are we ourselves, if we're the same race and the same culture, we usually have no differences. So that's kind of boring to me. It might not be to you, but it's nice. But you know, we go round and round, and I don't think that I can learn from that, and I don't believe people can either. So when we're talking about the same races, cultures, and creeds that are the same, that pretty much is the reason why it's very good to go out and see other cultures, other races, knowing that I come from a place where I grew up with multiple races, not just one. I really am so happy and proud that I did, that my parents did that for me. And so I wanted to share this, how it impacted my life, but without saying so. I'm just going to say it now and hope that it will impact yours if you're open to it. Because pretty much we're the same when we just stay within the same cultures. Usually we have the same foods, same music, same everything. And that can get kind of boring. But by embracing other cultures and social backgrounds, we could actually learn a lot more than we think. Let me give you some examples of that. You know, because if we refuse to learn diversity and understanding the differences between what we know and what we weren't taught about from from other backgrounds, social backgrounds and cultures, we lose. We weren't taught. Some of us weren't, but I was. Gratefully, thankfully, I was. And I let my children learn as well, and that's a good thing. But coming back to the point, limiting it therefore limits our growth. And no matter what prejudices one has within or has been taught about another race, culture, or creed, how are you going to know without the knowledge, right? We are ignorant if we don't learn from it on our own, and we'll be left ignorant. Yeah, we really will. We need to also speak to those. We also need to break and speak it into our existence and break those barriers in society and those before us that have put those barriers up, and take advantage and take those barriers down today. There's a new generation coming. Newest generations, the old school generations, may have changed somewhat, and some are stuck in there. And that's okay. You choose what you want to do. I'm not here to force it. I just want to open up the idea to open your mind more, instead of being what we were taught to just situate with what we have been through as a people. But we need to move out of that and move forward and upward. And you can't do that if that's all you sulk in for the rest of your life. Basically, I'm not doing it. So I hope you don't either. And so let's break those barriers down and choose to be different. And the key to that would be for us to see what we can do to learn from people as much as we can from one another. And, it's really important that our own cultures, we are being biased if we refuse to learn from others different from ourselves. So we're actually being biased if we don't realize it. And we call people prejudice, but that's also what prejudice is as well, when you refuse to, because we were taught one way. And yes, we were all victimized and enslaved, but it wasn't just one group of people, there was many. So we need to move forward and upward. That's what I always say. I move forward and upward. I don't look backwards. Once I leave the past, it stays in the past. I don't move it forward with me. I start my new life. I let people go. If they're not into what thought of matter that, mentally fit to move forward in life, I leave them backwards until they learn their own lessons. I've learned mine, and therefore I move forward and upward with mine. I cannot control other people, but this is my channel, and here I like to show how you can actually move upward and forward. It's not easy, but if you don't start, then you can't do it. So I basically try to bring as much empowerment to this channel as possible without breaking people down, but I'm going to bring the truth. And by bringing the truth, some people may not like it and some people will. Those that don't like it usually likes lies. I can't. It's not my thing to be a people pleaser. So if that's you too, you don't need to watch my channel any longer. I'm not a people pleaser. I'm a people person, actually. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, from experiences, from education, from all aspects of my life and other people's that I have actually met. So with that being yourself, I wanted to know, if you want to learn the different things about other people, ask yourself these questions. If you can answer these questions with a yes or no to yourself, we'll see what the results is at the end. Okay, so the first one is, now this is you asking yourself, do I open up to discussions with others that are like me or from different backgrounds? That's really important. Do you open discussions with other people with different backgrounds, or do you stay with the same cultural and races of people that you speak to on a daily basis? And are you not open to others, or are you? One or the other. Two is, do I socialize with different cultures? That's a question you should ask yourself again. Do I socialize with different cultures? Socializing can be anything from church. Do you go to church? Is your church, matter of fact, I just thought of this, does your church have all races, or is it just one race, and that's what you choose to do? Then that's what you choose to do. I'm just giving you an eye-opener here and on these questions, and you can answer them as you want. Either later on you could tell me how many yeses and how many nos you got out of this by simply putting it on my discussion, actually in the comments there on the YouTube page that you'll see once I'm finished with this. tape, but it's really important that you ask yourself these questions, you know? Um, the third one was, do I follow what others say about what other races and cultures are doing without verifying it for myself first? So, do you follow others? That would be a people person, people pleaser, someone that says if your friends just say, okay, so Latinos are it, or whites are it, or blacks are it, and that's it for us, and you go, yeah, but really in your heart it's not, then you're a people pleaser. So you're going to want to ask yourself these questions. If you would, and do you follow other people based on what they say instead of getting the facts? Even if it is the facts, are you daring enough to go out there and change that? That's really important. All right, so that was question number 4. I'm sorry, number 3. Question number 4 is, do I allow others to dictate their dislike for other races and or cultures? Do you? Number 5, was I taught growing up in the household to automatically dislike other races and or cultures? Were you? Because that has a lot to do with why we treat people the way we do, whatever race we're speaking about, whoever you are, whatever race you are, think about it. Number 6, do I eat foods outside of what I was traditionally taught? Are you just eating the foods that you were taught to cook from home by mom or dad, and you don't try to explore other things outside of that, cooking them for yourselves or going out and eating them, trying new things? Or do you just eat the foods outside of what you were traditionally taught? Question number 7, do I listen to others and not act on my own decisions or choices? That again could lead to people pleasing, so be careful of that. Number 8, do I speak up when people of other races are treated unfairly? Okay, so some of us, we know what it's like to be treated unfairly, either socially, culturally, by race, whatever the case is. So that's an important question. Would you like to be treated the way you treat people or the way you see other people treated? Of course not. So I wouldn't do it, but that's the question. Do I treat other races differently from my own? All right. And that was number 9. And number 10, would I marry outside of my own race or live in a neighborhood outside of my own race? That is another question to ask yourselves. What these questions are important to ask yourself, because if most of these answers are no for you, then you may need to reevaluate how you embrace other races. And so I did this little test here because it's not actually a test, questionnaire, so that you can ask yourself, well, do I do these things? Am I like this or am I not? Or am I allowing other people to teach me to be like this, instead of embracing others outside of who I am and outside of my culture and my race? And why is this so important? Because we all have to realize that there is a connection between all of us, regardless of whether we like it or not, or whether we want to believe it. We learn different things when we are open to listen to people of different races and cultures. Actually, yeah, we're not getting the same information round and round because we are the same race or culture. So by listening to others, you can also learn other things that may not have been taught to us, you know. And those things can be important and relevance, such as how to better invest and manage money. Maybe there is a different way or method that you were not taught. Someone else will know how to do that. And and sometimes they may not be your race, and sometimes they may. Another one is how to network with different races. That's going to be really important, collaborating with other races, actually, because it broadens your network by including other people and as many people as possible from around the globe, especially in business. You wouldn't be a business person or smart in business if you're only picking one culture or race to include and no one else, because therefore you're not getting the aspects of everyone. You're just getting one narrow aspect of business, and you don't want, if you're a real business person, CEO or whatever, owner or whatever, even a partner, you're going to want to be influenced and influence others as well. And they may not just be of your race, so you better be adjusted to that. If your questions, your answers to those questions were mostly no, and you plan on doing business, yeah, some people do their own culture and race businesses, and that's cool. But if you're choosing to get a wide spread of people, you need the people, and that's who we are. Remember those words? We the people. Though we the people are of every color and every race, and people tend to forget it. So I'm here to remind you of that. Another thing is, if you are to cook meal, if you like to cook a lot, right? Is it the same food day in and day out? Because I'd get bored of that. Yeah. I've been taught different cultures of food, and I go Google food and Google menus, and I'll do whatever. I love grilling. I'll grill anything and try it once at least. But some people won't. But trying new dishes is a good way to experience, okay, different cultures and their foods, which is really nice. Going to different restaurants, not the same place, the same food over and over again. Sometimes it's just good to just change up, the same tired story every day, doing the same thing round and round is too routine. So basically that leads to a boring and unfulfilled life for some of us. I'm not saying for everyone, but for most of us. And so when you look at it, you got to think of, why is it not fulfilling me? And then you ask yourself those 10 questions and see the answers on how many no's you have versus how many yeses. Because basically my story, well, not my story, but I meet a lot of people that tell me they were not taught how to handle themselves. When I'm at work, I see how they handle themselves, and I shake my head if they're my race or not. Sometimes they're mostly my race. And it's horrible. It's embarrassing too, and because other people look at us all the same, and they shouldn't. But I'm sure other races feel the same when they see their race embarrassed as well. But the whole thing is, I meet a lot of people that tell me they were not taught how to handle themselves in particular situations, like in the courtroom or with the police, and not taught how to address themselves in an interview even, or situations with the law. And so YouTube does have an array of different people. It varies where you can go see that. And I have a Legal Matters show as well on monthly basis every end of the month. But it will show you certain things that you need to know to learn for yourself if you weren't taught this. But I believe a lot of people haven't been taught even to properly speak properly when needed. I've seen it in the courtroom and outside the courtroom, or when children are around, you're cursing, they're your children or not your children. The curse word needs to be thrown in the basura, and that means the garbage, because we shouldn't be teaching our young children to speak that way. That's horrible. Some of us can't help it at certain times. Take a deep breath, say, excuse me, I'm sorry, or something. But I've seen these people never say sorry, like it's blatant, it's normal to them. We don't want to live in a world like that, where our children grow up to be the same thing over and over, generation after generation. So the change needs to be made within ourselves so that we can change others. And so when I heard about that, I said, you know what, this is going to be something I want to do on my show. Some people are oblivious to new things they haven't tried or heard about. And the reason for this is that we are not looking outside the spectrum at all. And we're taught that we should stay with what we know and be comfortable there. This is so far from the truth that we can learn so much more outside the box from the ideology we were actually originally taught. So I actually challenge you to take that step and get to know the people outside and around you, your race, and outside your race, and cultures. Very important. and see how interesting it is to try to try new people, new places, new foods, things that were generally you're not used to, and enjoy the embrace of the new. So embracing new cultures and new races is very fulfilling. I even went to a college. I know there's black colleges. It's beautiful that you go there, because we was taken advantage of in other schools that won't take us in, like law school. But I still prefer to go to international all-race schools for a reason, because I know there's something, a need there for me to see how other people are besides my own people. And I get bored very easily, so not to say my race is boring, but you know what? I need more than that. Not everyone does, but I do. I need to fulfill a purpose of being people with people that we're all the same anyway, so I don't see a difference until you get those nasty racists. And racists are in every culture, every race. No one could tell me not. I've experienced it in my own race. So unfortunately, but it is what it is, and change is needed, and in order to make those changes, you have to be the change. So with that being said, I just want to remind you that I'm here every Saturday on YouTube at 3 o'clock and on IAAH Radio at 3 o'clock as well, with the best DJs and music in town. Thank you, DJ 5 a.m. Hello, Mrs. 5 a.m. And my husband, who's one of the DJs as well, DJ Bugging Hard. Go check them out. They have an array of a lot of good DJs, music, tons of different types and sorts of genres. And I'm sure you'll like that. But come check my talk radio show out there at 3 on Saturday if you're on the road. Know Your Truth Real Talk. I also do legal matters there every month as well. So please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And I bet you it will be worth your time, because I always try to enlighten people with my shows, whether they like the truth or not. It's just my truth. You are allowed to come here when I'm live or not and bring your truth as well. I have no doors shut down on that, as long as you're not nasty and that you're respectable, because that's what this channel is about. I don't do the disrespect to get followers. I do not do it for money, and if the day comes, it comes, but nah, I'm good. The message getting out for me is enough, and it shall get out regardless, and I'm thankful for that. And so here on Know Your Truth Real Talk, with me, Judge Desire for Knowledge, bringing you the truth and nothing but the truth, is now adjourned. Ciao. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. By IAAH Radio.